Dear students, how are you? I think you all are fine. This is Lavan Shakar. Welcome to my today's class. Dear student, today I am going to take a class on chapter 2. And all the name of the chapter is the Independent Bangladesh. So before the start of my today's class, I would like to show you today's learning outcome. So after the class, you will be able to describe the background to form the Constitution of Bangladesh. Then you will be able to describe the characteristics of the Constitution of Bangladesh. Okay, let's get started our today's class. First of all, the constitutions of Bangladesh. Okay, so at first you have to understand what is called constitution. Basically, constitution is the supreme law of a state, and by the constitution we can know the relationship between the state and government. Okay, so basically constitution is the guidance guideline to run the state. Okay, by the government. Now I am going to show you the definition of constitution to you. So this is the definition of the constitution. Constitution is the supreme law of the state. By the constitution, one can easily understand the relation between government and the people of a state. Okay, here I am going to share on definition given by the father of the political science, Aristotle. And Aristotle said that constitution is the way of life the state has chosen for itself. Again, I am going to tell you the definition which was given by the father of the political science, Aristotle. Right? And he said that constitution is the way of life the state has chosen for itself, and you can use these definitions as a reference definitions. Okay, and you are growing up boys and boys, so you can use some reference definition in your answer script. So dear student, now I am going to discuss about the background of the constitution of Bangladesh. Okay, so first point is that, okay, at first I will read out these lines, then I will describe these lines to you. First of all, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman proclaimed a temporary constitution on 11 January 1972. After the order, Bangladesh turned into parliamentary form of government from presidential form of government. By this order, a constitutional assembly was formed to make a constitution. So dear students, to understand these lines, you have to understand some of the terms. First of all, you have to understand about parliamentary form of government, then you have to understand presidential form of government, then you have to understand constitutional assembly. First of all, parliamentary form of government. Parliamentary form of government is such a government system where prime minister will be the chief executive of the government system, and prime minister and his or her ministers will be responsible for their works to the parliament. Okay, so what is called the presidential form of government? Presidential form of government is such a government system where a president will be the chief executive of the government, at the same time he will be the head of the state. Okay, say for example the government system of the USA. Okay, so then I will talk about the constitutional assembly. Basically, constitutional assembly is a legislature house whose main work main works to make a constitutions for a state. Okay, so Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman proclaimed a temporary constitutions on 11 January 1972, and basic Bangladesh, and by this proclamation, temporary constitutions, and Bangladesh turned into parliamentary form of government from presidential form of government. Here you have to understand one thing. The Mujibnagar government was the presidential form of government. Okay, this is vital information and you have to remember this information. The Mujibnagar government was the presidential form of government. Okay, then by this order a constitutional assembly was formed to make constitutions. Okay, That means a constitutional assembly will be made to make a constitution to run the newborn Bangladesh. Okay. Next point is that the president proclaimed Bangladesh Ganaparishad Order on 23rd March 1972 to prepare a constitution in which aspiration and dream of nation would be reflected. Okay, first try to understand this line. Okay, so that time the president was the president of Bangladesh was Justice Abu Said Chaudhry. Again, I am going to share this information to you. That time the president was of Bangladesh was Justice Abu Said Chaudhry, and he proclaimed Bangladesh Ganaparishad Order, okay, on 23rd March 1972 to prepare constitution in which aspiration and dream of the nation would be reflected. That means that constitution will fulfill all the aspiration and dream of the people of Bangladesh. According to the proclaimed by the president of Bangladesh, Justice Abu Said Chaudhry, a 34-member draft constitution committee was formed to make a suitable constitution. Okay, and in the first sessions of the Constitutional Assembly was held on 10th April 1972. Okay, so there are two lines, and two lines are very easy to understand. So according to the proclamation, okay, a draft constitutional committee was formed, and the member of the draft constitutional committee was 34, and the first sessions of the draft constitutional assembly was held on 10th April 1972. Next, the committee submitted the draft constitutions on 12 October in the Constitutional Assembly. Okay, so for the first time, the draft constitutional committee placed a draft constitution to the Constitutional Assembly on 12 October 1972. So, dear students, among the 34 members of the draft constitutional committee, Dr. Kamal Hussain was the chairman, and there was a woman among the 34 members. Okay, and Dr. Shuranjit Sen Gupta was the only members of the opposition political party. So what was the next incident to form from the constitutions of Bangladesh? Then, at last, the Constitution of Bangladesh was passed by the Constitutional Assembly on 4 November, okay, and it was enacted after the sign of the President on 16 December 1972. So, dear students, there are two lines. There are two information. First information: the draft constitution was passed in the Constitutional Assembly on 4th November. That is why 4th November is called the Constitution Day of our country, and this constitution was enacted after the sign of the President on 16th December 1972. Okay, so dear students, here you can include one important line of our great leader Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman while he addressing on constitutions in 1972. Okay, and he said that this constitution is written by the blood of the martyrs, and it will remain as a symbol of the aspirations and dream of the people. And this line is very vital line, and you can use this line in your answer script when you write down about the background of the Constitution of Bangladesh. Okay, so that's all about the background of the Constitution of Bangladesh, and this topic is very important for creative questions. So dear student, now I am going to discuss about the characteristics of the Constitution of Bangladesh. First of all, written constitutions. Basically, there are two types of constitutions all over the world: the written constitution and unwritten constitutions. The constitution of Bangladesh is written constitution because all of the articles are written document in our constitutions. Okay, so our constitution is a written constitution. So this is one of the characteristics of our constitution. Number two, flexible constitutions. Okay, so our constitutions is amendables, and we can amend our constitutions if the people feel it's a necessity. Okay, so we can change some of the parts of our constitutions. We can change some of the articles of our constitution. So our constitution is amendables. That is why this is called the flexible constitution, and this is one of the characteristics of Bangladesh constitution. Then rigid not government, here will be rigid constitution. Okay, there is a typing mistake, and number three will be rigid constitution. Again, I am going to say it will be rigid constitution. Okay, so what is called the rigid constitution? That means if we change any part of our constitutions, or if we change any article of our constitutions, we have to it will not be easy task. Okay, that means to change any part of the constitutions, you have to need two-third written vote of the parliament members. So to change the constitutions of Bangladesh is difficult task. That is why the constitution of Bangladesh is called the rigid constitutions. So dear students, number three will be rigid constitution, not rigid government. I am sorry for that, this is typing mistake. Okay, number four fundamental principles. Okay, dear students, basically there are four fundamental principles of our constitutions. Okay, and you can see these four fundamental principles in the second part of our constitutions. For your kind information, I would like to say you there are 11 parts of our constitutions. Okay, among the 11 parts, you can see these four fundamental principles in the part 2. Okay, so what are the four pillars or the main principles of our constitution? First of all, nationalism. Okay, second is democracy, third is socialism, and fourth is secularism. Okay, so what is called nationalism, and I have already discussed about the nationalism and Bengali nationalism when I have taken classes on chapter 2. Then democracy, basically democracy is a government system where all the citizens of a country take part in government process directly and indirectly. So what is called the socialism? Socialism is one type of government system, but here only a few elements of the socialism will be taken to run our state. Okay, so basically to stop the labor exploitation, some elements from the socialism have taken in our constitutions. And number four, secularism. Basically secularism means keep our religions from politics, and secularism is one of the principles of our constitutions. So what is the next characteristic of our constitution? Number five, ensure the fundamental rights of the citizens. So at first you have to understand what is called the fundamental rights. Okay, so rights that you need to live minimum standard life, maintain minimum standard life is called the fundamental rights. Say for example, food, clothes, medicare, education, recreation, shelter are called the fundamental rights. Okay, and these fundamental rights are ensured by our constitutions among the 11 parts of our constitution, and you can get all of the fundamental rights in the third part of our constitution. Then number 6, unitary government system. Okay. So, on the basis of the power between the central government and the provincial government, there are two types of government. That is the central government, and another is the unitary government system. So, Bangladesh is not a federal government system. Bangladesh belongs unitary form of government. That means all the powers of Bangladesh are distributed from the central government. Okay. And then unicameral parliament. Okay, basically we can see two types of parliament all over the world. One is the unicameral parliament, another is bicameral parliament. In unicameral parliament we can see just on legislature house, but in bicameral parliament we can see two houses, houses of legislature. Say for example, in England, England belongs bicameral parliament, and there are two houses of legislature. And these are House of Lords and House of Commons. Okay, but Bangladesh belongs unicameral parliament, and the name of the parliament of Bangladesh is Jatiyo সংসদ. In English, it is called the nation of the House of Nation. Okay, number 8, multi-party political system. So what is called the multi-party political system? At first you have to understand, multi-party political system means when a country allow to do politics in the state for the many political parties is called the multi-party political system. And in our country we can see the existence of multi-party political system, and it is highly ensured by our constitution, and this is one of the characteristics of our constitution. Number 9, the parliamentary oblique cabinet government system. Parliamentary and cabinet government system both are similar words. Okay, so what is called the parliamentary form of government? Parliamentary form of government means where the prime minister will be the chief executive of the government, and he or she will be, and her ministers will be responsible for their words to the parliaments. Okay, so the government system of Bangladesh is parliamentary form of government, and it is ensured by our constitution. Number 10, constitution amendment. Okay, by our constitution it is said that we can change our constitution, but to change our constitution we need two-third majority. To need two-third written votes of the parliament members. Okay, and number 11, mixed economic system. So what will be the economic system of Bangladesh? Okay, so the economic system of Bangladesh will be mixed economic system. So what is called a mixed economic system? Basically, mixed economic system is the combinations of the capitalistic and socialistic economic system. Okay, and this system is ensured by our constitution. So this is one of the characteristics of our constitution. Number 12, universal franchise. So what is called the universal franchise? Universal franchise means all the adult person of our country will be able to cast their vote to elect their representatives. Okay, so this is called the universal franchise, and these rights and these things is ensured by our constitution. So dear student, that's all about the characteristics of the constitution of Bangladesh. Okay, so if you at first you have to memorize these points, then you have to think, you have to own these points, because these points are very crucial. So because if you want to be a good citizen, you must need to clear idea about the constitution of Bangladesh, because constitution is the highest law of our country. Okay, so dear students, now I'm going to start the next part of our today's class, and the name of this part is the evaluation part. First of all, when did Bangabandhu declare the temporary constitutional order? Okay, on 11 January 1972, Bangabandhu declared the temporary constitutional order. Number two, how many members were there in the draft constitution committee? There are 34 members uh, in the draft constitution committee. Then, who was the head of the draft constitution committee? Dr. Kamal Hussain was the head of the draft constitution committee. 4. Which date is our Constitution Day? Definitely 4th November is called the Constitution Day of our country. And number 4, and the last question is that what are the 4 principles of our Constitution? Okay. So there are 4 principles of our constitutions: nationalism, then democracy, socialism, and secularism. So that's all about our today's class. And dear students, today's class was very vital and very informative for, I think, not only for you but also all type of people of our country, because we are living in a state, so we have to show our loyalty to our state rules. Okay, so I think you have got about the backgrounds to from the Constitution of Bangladesh. At the same time, you have got the characteristics of the Constitution of Bangladesh. So, dear students, thank you very much for watching me with your kind patient. Okay, next time see you again. Till then, Allah Hafiz.